Well, hi there everybody, and welcome to Ovarian Cancer Australia's Information and Support webinar. My name is Anne-Marie Ferguson, and I'm one of the coordinators of Ovarian Cancer Australia's support programme. Before we begin the webinar, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land. We pay our respects to elders past and present. Today's webinar is on the theme of carers. The webinar is interactive, so over the next little while, I encourage you to ask questions of our presenters by typing into the left-hand side of your screen. There's a chat box. You can type your questions into there. Your questions will be answered at the end of each speaker's presentation, and please keep in mind that our presenters cannot address individual medical cases, and if you have any particular or specific questions, you can call the Ovarian Cancer Australia's information and referral line. If you are experiencing difficulty hearing the sound during this webinar, please dial the 1-800 number listed in the chat box. Today, we're very pleased to welcome our presenters, Sarah and Jackie Tidey and Jennifer Daddow. Sarah was diagnosed with ovarian cancer stage 3 in September 2015, aged only 47. Following a hysterectomy and some debulking surgery, she's had 6 sessions of chemotherapy. Sarah's mum, Jackie, with whom she's always been close, has been a great support to her throughout treatment and since the recurrence of cancer in November last year. They both enjoyed books, art, music, movies, and spending time with friends and family. One of the positive things to come out of Sarah's diagnosis has been all of the time that they have spent together. Our other presenter, Jennifer Daddow, has extensive experience as a health and community adult educator, community development worker, and project coordinator. She's worked with a range of diverse groups in the community, welfare, and health sectors. Jennifer joined the education and treatment team at Carers Victoria in 2008, and in that role she enjoyed educational opportunities to improve carer health and wellbeing, facilitating workshops for carers and service providers. And Jennifer has a master's degree in health and is a qualified workplace trainer and assessor. Now I'd like to pass you over to Jennifer Daddow.
Hello, my name's Jennifer Daddow and I'm part of the Education Services at Carers Victoria. Carers Victoria is a state-wide voice for carers, for family carers. And there is a statewide voice for carers in all states and territories of Australia, so the information I'm giving is relevant no matter where you are. And at the end of the presentation, I'll give a 1-800 contact number, and that will default to your local state or territory carer service. If you are helping support someone in your life who has been diagnosed with ovarian cancer, then this presentation is for you. I'll be defining who a carer is and what they do, the effects of those extra roles and responsibilities on the carer's own health and wellbeing, and the supports that are available to care for the carer. Just having a small, that's right. So who are carers? We know that when an illness is diagnosed in one person, its effects are also felt in the people close to that person. Different aspects, of course, but carrying their own impact. The person close by, providing support, we often call a carer. Now, you may not identify with the term carer, preferring to refer to yourself as the mother or the partner or the daughter or the son or a sibling or a friend of the person close to you who has been diagnosed with ovarian cancer. In other words, you define yourself according to your relationship. But the term carer simply highlights the additional roles and responsibilities you take on to support the person who has the illness. It's the term used in government legislation, in research, in bureaucracies like Centrelink, and when you go to Dr. Google. Although if you Google American or Canadian information, you may find the term caregiver instead. It doesn't really matter what term you use to describe yourself as a support person. The most important thing is that you recognise the extras you are taking on and that you access supports that are available for you. In your support role, you may be doing a number of things. You may be driving your family member to her appointment or her treatment. You may be an extra pair of ears at a specialist consultation. You may be helping with household responsibilities, extra cooking, maybe helping to protect the person with ovarian cancer from the less sensitive family members and friends. You may be assisting with medication, doing whatever you can to help. Probably the most valued task of all, providing emotional support, a listening ear, someone to help share the highs and lows of this illness and all its rippling effects. Love, concern, affection are often the motivating factors, wanting to reach out and express those feelings in a practical way. Everyone's experience is unique, but when it comes to the world of illness and the caring role, there are some common themes which emerge. I've chosen 2 carer stories which capture some of these common themes. You may not identify with the particulars of the circumstances, but listen in to those stories for the effects on the carers. Later in this presentation, I'll be offering some suggestions about how those effects can be offset and what a difference they can make to those in the caring or supportive role. My first story concerns Jan and Robert. Jan and Robert met on a dating site for the over 60s. Both had grown-up families and 4 grandchildren between them. They were delighted to discover each other and the joy of a new relationship and became partners, even though they had decided not to move in together. Just 2 years into the relationship, however, Jan was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. The news rocked her and her family and threw up a whole lot of challenges for her and for Robert to work through together. Jan wanted to maintain her independence and Robert wanted to support her in every way he could. He didn't see himself as a carer and he didn't anticipate that Jan's diagnosis would affect him in quite the way that it did. After several months of travelling across 2 suburbs most days to be with Jan, Robert began to feel the strain. He'd given up his Thursday golf and his life revolved around Jan and her needs. Robert's own family, who were initially supportive of him, began to grumble that they never saw him, and Robert felt pulled in different directions. He attended to Jan's garden, did her shopping, and helped her get her financial affairs in order, as well as be her emotional backstop. By the time the first year was over, Robert was deeply tired. His blood pressure had gone up and he'd lost interest in the things which used to bring him joy, like his garden and his former golf buddies. He felt how unfair it was that this illness should affect his new relationship in the way that it had. Then he experienced terrible guilt and remorse for even thinking that way. He was also lonely, and he felt that really he had no one to talk to. He didn't want to burden Jan with his concerns and felt that his concerns were very small compared with hers. My next story concerns Mai and Quinn. Mai and Quinn were sisters, very close, and Quinn, as the older sister, had always protected Mai, especially when their parents died. Quinn's family were all grown up and not living nearby, and Mai's children were reaching the end of their teenage years. When Quinn was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, Mai went into a spin. She found it very hard to accept the diagnosis. What had Quinn ever done to deserve such an illness? And she was overcome with feelings of loss and grief. She was also angry. How could such an awful situation be happening when they'd already been through so much suffering when their parents died? In the dark months which followed, their normal relationship changed as Quinn relied heavily on Mai. Mai felt that all she did to support Quinn was what any sister would do. Quinn's husband was not really comfortable in thinking about her woman's illness and kept his usual work occupation and commitments going. But as time went by, Mai had her own issues to deal with. Her children were in the last years of their secondary education, and Mai wanted to be there to support them. Mai was often tired as she juggled all her normal responsibilities and the extras she took on to support Quinn. She used all her annual leave to be with Quinn for her treatment. She cleaned Quinn's house as well as her own. She did her washing and cooked meals and had long conversations as Quinn worked through the impact of her diagnosis. Mai didn't sleep well because of the worry. She lost weight and developed frequent headaches. Although Mai didn't see herself as a carer, we would call her one because of the extra roles and responsibilities she was taking on in supporting Quinn. So what can we draw from these stories, and many like them in Australia and in other countries? The caring role has actually been the focus of research and study for a number of decades now, and some common themes have emerged. On the plus side, many carers feel deeply connected to the person they are supporting and are grateful for the opportunity to show their love through the practical and emotional support they provide. They may deeply appreciate the chance to fulfil a vow, to feel needed, to give back love and support they themselves have received at some time in the past. Some in the caring or support role are encouraged and surprised by their capacity to learn new skills, to discover new dimensions in themselves, and even find deeper purpose in life or a sense of meaning. But there are also challenges for many carers, and I've chosen 3 to discuss. The first is that carers can develop their own health and wellbeing issues. Recent studies indicate that carers are at an increased risk of developing depression and anxiety. Carers have also reported lower wellbeing than other population groups previously studied. We're not talking cause and effect. I'm not saying that if you are in a caring role you will get sick in some way. What I am saying is if you are in a caring role for an extended period of time and don't acknowledge the extra roles and responsibilities you are taking on, then you are vulnerable. Carers can develop their own health and wellbeing issues. A second powerful theme for many carers is guilt and grief. The guilt can creep up on carers. Feeling guilt about their own tiredness, feeling guilt about the need for a break, feeling guilt that they may have shown impatience or said the wrong thing, feeling guilt that they cannot sustain the high standards they have for themselves. They can feel resentful and then guilty that they feel resentful. And grief. Grief for the losses their loved one is experiencing, grief in anticipating what the future may bring, grief at the reactions of other people, and deep private grief about the effects of the diagnosis on their own spirit. Carers often feel deep guilt and grief. And thirdly, carers often feel invisible. What might this curious thing mean? Well, carers express this invisibility in a number of ways. Firstly, the extra roles and responsibilities they take on are often invisible to other people, like clinical staff or other family members and the community of which they are a part. Secondly, so much focus needs to go on the illness itself that the carer may feel they have become invisible even to the person they love, the person with the diagnosis. And finally, carers may become invisible to themselves, lose their own sense of self as they are caught up in the long to-do list and the impact of the diagnosis. Carers often feel invisible. So, what are the clues to look for? How do you know that you are more vulnerable than usual because of your caring role? Here's some things that carers have told us. Some of the clues to look for are feeling exhausted or overwhelmed, forgetting things more often, feeling guilty a lot of the time, having a change in your sleep or eating patterns, losing interest in the things you once enjoyed, constant or frequent physical issues like headache or chronic pain or stomach upsets or changes in blood pressure, becoming irritated and angry over little things that once didn't bother you, or having trouble making decisions or thinking straight. So if you are in the caring role, supporting someone with ovarian cancer, what action can you take to keep yourself well and healthy? Take action to ensure that you have regular breaks to recharge your battery. It's not disloyal to the one you love to have some time out, to catch up with your own friends or other family members, pursue your loved hobbies for an hour or two, or simply have a coffee on your own. Doing something separately will enable you to come back to your support role refreshed, which benefits you and the person you are supporting. So ensure you have regular breaks to recharge your battery. Take action to keep well and healthy by keeping up to date with your own health checks. Don't put off your normal GP visits, your mammogram, your prostate checks, your blood pressure checks, dental appointments and so on. The months can fly by and your own health may be suffering without you being really aware. Try and maintain daily exercise and eat well. All the things we know that are important, but which can slip through the cracks when we're busy and stressed. So take action to keep up with your own health checks. Take action to remain well and healthy by finding support for your own emotional ups and downs. It's important that you have someone to laugh with, to gripe with, to cry with, to talk with, if that's what you need to do. In the past, the person who fulfilled this role for you may well be the one who is now struggling with her own health issues. You may be fortunate enough to discover another family member or friend who can be there just for you. But many in the caring role find they need to go further afield to get the support they need. Many carers find themselves helped by visiting a counsellor who knows about carer issues. So even if counselling is something way outside your experience up till now, don't dismiss it during this crisis time. In a moment, the 1-800 number I give will be able to connect you with counselling in your own state. But however you do it, find support for your own emotional ups and downs. So now, the 1800 number, which can link you with support and information across Australia. 1800 242 636. This number will default to the Carer Association in your state or territory. It's staffed by professionals who can be a listening ear as well as link you to more ongoing supports. The call is free from a landline, and if you require an interpreter, this can be arranged. 1800 242 636. If you are helping support someone in your life who's been diagnosed with ovarian cancer, then this presentation is for you. We encourage you to remain aware of your own experience and to reach out to the supports available for you. Our wish is for the best possible outcome for all. I'm Jennifer Daddow from Carers Victoria.
Well, Jennifer, I would like to give a big thanks. That was a very informative presentation, and very well spoken and very clear in simple terms. There is a question that's been, one of our participants has texted us in. It's from Hayley. Hayley asks, Jennifer, do you have any comments on when caring causes a rift in the relationship? What if you don't agree with your loved one's medical decisions or want them to consider another treatment? Is this something that happens often?
There are two parts to that question. Thanks, Hayley. The first is, do rifts happen between carers and the person with the diagnosis? Yes, they do. In most normal families without an illness, there are cracks and hairline fractures, if you like, that in the normal course of events are no problem and everybody works around them. But when you add a significant illness and a caring role, those cracks can open right up. And it's not abnormal at all to feel the strain of that and for there to be some kind of rift. But the second part of your question, Hayley, suggests to me that you're still in communication with the person you're supporting, but now there is a difference of opinion around treatment. My suggestion is that you find the support that you need to work through that. Ultimately, the person with the diagnosis is the one who has to make the decision about the course of their own life, and it's up to you to support them in any way that you can. If you have someone you can chew this over with, apart from the person with the diagnosis, then you can be more honest and work out different scenarios for yourself in that support role. And that's what I would always advise you to do, to get support to work through that.